Hello and welcome to our live show. Again, after some brief pause, we restarted our live shows, and as usual, we have a presentation on subject that we selected for you today, and then we will go to your questions. So don't forget to get your questions ready, and let's get started. We will be talking about why your business can fail in Canada. So we've been talking about all the business immigration programs, more on the positive note, but this is a sober analysis of what could happen in Canada while you do business here if you don't get ready. Let's start.
Just a quick reminder before we start. Please note that whatever you hear in these live sessions or any content you see on social media by Sobirovs law firm is general information only and not legal advice. While we may use certain real-life scenarios or legal cases for learning purposes, it is important to remember that this does not constitute a legal opinion. For personalized legal advice, please consult with your lawyer or hire a Canadian immigration lawyer. Now, let's get back to our show.
Okay, as usual, we have a small presentation which I will try to do under 15 minutes, probably 20 minutes, and then get to your questions. Today's topic is why your business could fail in Canada. These are key risks for foreign entrepreneurs to know before they invest heavily in the Canadian economy. Before we delve into this topic, don't forget to subscribe and send me your questions after this presentation. I'll get to them. And follow us on social media. We share a lot of content. We share many insights, changing environment in Canadian business immigration. At Sobirovs Law Firm is the handle that you want to follow, especially on YouTube channel. Now, you know that Canada is a land of opportunity. It has been challenging after the pandemic, but these are the fundamental things that you need to know when it comes to Canada. It's still a great country to do business. It has market access to North America. One is more or less stable politically in terms of government and transparent governance. This is improving at the same time in many parts of the world. Things are improving, changing. The whole movements of transparency is also affecting Canada. Yes, we have shortcomings. We have our own things to improve. But overall, it's a stable political environment, strong rule of law, with some things to improve. I suggest that you read the media. Things are improving in Canada significantly. Second, abundant natural resources will give you an edge, whether it's in manufacturing or other, and access to North American market is also a key factor in your success in Canada. Competitive corporate tax rates around the world in developed economies, these are competitive rates, combined rate of around 28% federal and provincial, and well-educated workforce, which is, as you know, is key to your success. And focus on innovation in technology and clean energy in Canada is also a priority sector. But having said that, as I said, this is a presentation about sober analysis. It's not just rosy dreams and blue mountains. The reality check is it is quite deceptively complex legal system for foreign entrepreneurs. The whole Canadian system seems to be over-regulated or too complex. It's not easy to navigate. So according to Global Index Complexity in 2024, Global Business Complexity Index, 49th spot is occupied by Canada. So it's quite complex. It's deceptively complex unless you have your professionals next to you guiding you through the process. Then there is another problematic aspect of Canadian establishment is that there are 10 provinces and 3 territories. They do their best to act as an independent country. There are regulatory variables between the provinces that creates complex compliance environment, right? But the federal government, especially with the tariff war from the United States and what's going on around the world, now Canadian provinces and territories, they want to be acting as one economy, not 13 different economies. But in the meantime, it's a transitionary period. The government is trying their best. However, we look forward to having more unified economy in Canada. Now, looking at the top reasons that we see in our clients and other people who are doing business in Canada, these are top reasons that businesses fail in any industry, in any sector. One is insufficient capital or poor financial management. Underestimating startup costs and operational costs, inadequate cash flow planning, and poor expense management can lead to big serious problems down the road. This is the foreign entrepreneur impact. Is the reason that happens is unfamiliarity with Canadian banking system, which is quite conservative as compared to the, let's say, Middle East or United States, even our neighbor. Conservative Canadian banking system and higher than expected cost. You may estimate your cost, but it ends up being more than what you estimated when you do the real, when you come on the ground and do the business. Second, lack of comprehensive planning. Absence of a clear business plan, inadequate market research, and failure to plan for contingencies. Foreign entrepreneurs, they have insufficient understanding of Canadian market dynamics and, most importantly, customer preferences. Whatever you sell in your home country doesn't necessarily reflect the same kind of acceptance and adoption in Canada. So you need to learn the market dynamics plus the consumer preferences in Canada. Third big reason, top reason, is lack of comprehensive insufficiency in industry knowledge. This is a typo here. Insufficient industry knowledge, poor management skills, and inability to navigate business operations. In a way, the industries, many industries in Canada are heavily regulated. For example, medical, healthcare industry, then manufacturing, there are trade unions and whatnot. So lack of comprehensive understanding of certain industries may lead to limited opportunities for you. To alleviate that problem, you need to expand your local contacts and become more familiar with Canadian business practices. What you can do is, you shouldn't hurry to establish a business unless, in my practice, I tell the business owners to come to Canada. Don't listen to your lawyers, listen to your advisors. However, when you see is different. Seeing is believing, right? Come to Canada, see it for yourself, attend industry talks or shows or events, and make yourself familiar with how Canadians operate and run the business. And then you can substantially invest into your own business in Canada if you decide to do so. Now, in terms of, there are other reasons, of course, but insufficient funds seems to be number one reason why businesses fail in Canada. Foreign entrepreneur businesses fail. Poor planning seems to be the second biggest problem. So if you combine these two, it's more than 50%. So if you solve the insufficient fund and poor planning, you then can substitute lack of experience by hiring local Canadians. And poor marketing, you can also hire local marketing experts in Canada. And of course, it takes time for you to adapt. 15% of the time, that's the common reason that people fail to adapt to Canadian realities. Now, there are other regulatory and compliance problems, hurdles that are a little bit beyond your control, right? It's the government sets the regulation and compliance. So top three regulatory and compliance hurdles are the following. Variables between provinces, right? Provincial variances. Different province has different regulations for the same product. This is unacceptable, to be honest, but these are the realities that you need to deal with. Different rules across 10 provinces and 3 territories, 13 pieces of Canada, affecting incorporation, director residency, ultimate beneficial owner registries. These are all, and filing requirements, these all impact. If you want to do business across Canada, you will be dealing with more than one province, or delivering your goods from Ontario, let's say, to Manitoba. You need to be aware of different various regulations for each province. So it requires multiple legal consultations and compliance systems in your business. Second biggest hurdle is taxation. It's unavoidable, inevitable that you will be dealing with taxation. Federal level taxation, provincial level taxes, very varying HST, GST and PST systems across provinces, and complex filing requirements again. So you need to be a little bit familiar. You don't have to be, super knowledgeable about taxes, but you need to have some understanding about taxation system, and deal with tax advisors hand in hand in course of doing business in Canada. So because this misunderstanding or lack of understanding can lead to costly errors in Canada. Then permits and licenses. These issues have been problematic because it's a lengthy process. For example, for construction permits, it's average 250 days for construction permits, according to statistics. Property registration, 10 to 15 days, which is okay, but in certain countries it's much faster. Utility connections and so on. So the impact to you as a foreign entrepreneur would be unexpected delays in your projects that can drain capital reserves before operation begins. So in terms of regulatory, the most problematic in the construction sector is permits. To obtain those permits on time is it's challenging. So you have to take it into account, and then other things. So there are other regulatory problems, but top three is, as you can see, we discussed permits, taxation, and different provincial regulations across Canada. Now, something that relates to your labor force. Labor market dynamics are changing in Canada, and cultural integration can be a little bit challenging. So one is labor shortages. Persistent shortages in healthcare, if you want to go into healthcare, trades, construction and manufacturing sectors, skills gap. It's difficult to find qualified local talent sometimes with specific industry expertise, and I would add to that, in the right location. For example, everybody is trying to be in major cities like Vancouver, Toronto, perhaps Calgary, Edmonton. But if your projects relates to rural areas, it will be much difficult to find the skilled talent in those locations. And wage pressures, upward pressure on wages, because there are fewer skilled workers in Canada who are certified or who know how to do things. Yesterday I talked to my construction industry contact. They were having problems finding specialized machinists for the specialized equipment. So it's very skilled, very regulated in a way. It's a certified profession, but they couldn't find the right person in the right location. Second biggest hurdle is cultural integration challenges. There are language barriers. There is a legislation, for example, in Quebec, where your business signs should be in both English and French. So take into account that. Business etiquette, different expectations for meetings, negotiations, or professional relationship. It's a bit different business culture here. Management styles, Canadian workplaces, they prefer collaboration, value collaboration, rather than hierarchy of your boss and vice president and so on. There's a clear collaborative environment. Yes, there's certain type of hierarchy, but it's especially in the younger generation workforce, it's changing rapidly. Quebec cultural considerations should be taken into account if you want to do business in Quebec. Quebec has distinct cultural and linguistic requirements. Business signage must be in French, and many business interactions are conducted in French. So if you want to do business in the province of Quebec, take that into account. It's not, English will not be sufficient in a way, right? So again, depending on the severity of the problem with the labor shortage, healthcare is number one, construction, manufacturing, technology. while somebody can argue that technology has enough workforce in Canada at the moment, hospitality is more like seasonal. People come and go in this industry. So sometimes it's difficult to find the right people in the right season of tourism, for example. And Canadian culture, there are some things that you need to learn when you do your business. Work-life balance is almost sacred in Canadian workforce, and inclusivity is also very important. Punctuality is important. Collaboration rather than hierarchy is important, and so on. Access to capital, another big issue while business fails, is access to capital and financial systems. It's not easy for foreign entrepreneurs to get access to capital. That's limited credit history doesn't allow you to get into the grants and low interest credits and so on. New or smaller foreign owned corporations face significant barriers due to lack of Canadian credit history and financial track record. So solution to that could be you need to partner with established Canadian business or seek government-backed loans specifically designed for newcomers. If you are a newcomer in Canada, there are certain grants and loans that you need to explore. Then stringent qualification criteria. Many Canadian banks and financial institutions, with their conservative approach, they require substantial documentation, collateral for your financing, and proven business viability that can be difficult for foreign owners to provide. For example, opening a restaurant as a foreign entrepreneur and looking for credits, it will be really challenging unless your restaurant has like 5 years of history, because most restaurants in Canada, they go bankrupt within the first 5 years of their operation. So if you survive your first 5 years, then perhaps businesses can obtain restaurant businesses can obtain credit from the banks. Solution to that, the stringent qualification, you need to have comprehensive business plans that are drafted in Canada by Canadian specialists with great market research specific to Canadian conditions and secure Canadian financial advisors. You need to work with advisors who can help you to get qualified for the loans. Yeah, securing, in terms of capital and financial system, securing initial funding seems to be the number one headache for foreign entrepreneurs in Canada. And business loans and managing cash flow and so on. Market dynamics, what you should expect in Canadian markets and competitive landscape. It's a developed economy. There are very few gaps that you can fill. So failure to adapt, inability to pivot in response to changing consumer behavior, pre-pandemic, during the pandemic, and post-pandemic, with AI coming into the play, you need to adapt very quickly. You cannot say, oh, I did it at home and I will do it in Canada. You need to pivot when it's necessary. New technologies are coming in and Canadian productivity needs to improve. So new technologies adoption is promoted, and shifting economic realities. Like we've been exporting to United States. Now United States is causing a lot of trouble to Canadian businesses. So shifting economic realities can affect your business models too. Whatever business model that worked in your home country often requires significant adaptation to Canadian realities. So don't forget that. Insufficient marketing. When it comes to marketing, understanding the audience is very important in Canada. The audience that you've been dealing in other foreign countries may be quite different than Canadian audiences that you will be targeting here. So without understanding local market and nuances, and which is the preferred channel, for example, in the Middle East, it's more like WhatsApp is through digital marketing, right? WhatsApp or Facebook, but in Canada it's not like that. Maybe it's Instagram or TikTok is becoming a dominant area. So marketing messages that can resonate in other markets may fall flat or even offend Canadian sensibilities. So pay attention to that, learn the Canadian preferences, and target your audience accordingly. Intense competition, another number 3 problem in terms of market. Intense competition. As I said, there are a lot of well-established brands, let's say coffee brands, right? Tim Hortons, Starbucks, and so on. There are well-established local players in Canada who understand the Canadian landscape very nicely, very well, as compared to the new players that come in. So foreign impact could be, your impact on your business could be, you probably will underestimate the loyalty of Canadians towards certain brands in Canada. So you may bring a new brand, it takes longer time for you to introduce the brand to local consumers and change their behavior from one brand to another. So intense competition needs to be taken into account. The market dynamics, as I said, this is as opposed to Canadian local businesses to versus foreign businesses. You can look at it in your own time, but this is very important. Digital presence is much developed in Canadian local businesses. Brand adaptation, again, here's where you may lose. Your brand is unknown to Canadians. Market research, competitive analysis, and so on. Lastly, but not least important, is supply chain. Canada is a remote location, and Canadians live at the border with the United States most of the time. Supply chain can be a challenge because the ports are, we are surrounded by ocean, but it's a long distance, right? Complex customs and border procedures. Navigating customs documentation, compliance with import-export regulations, which is, by the way, changing rapidly. You need to work with custom brokers who will help you with import-export regulations. And managing unexpected delays at borders. It happened, right? It happened because of the situation in Port of Los Angeles or eastern ports in the United States. It can happen that supply chain disruption can happen very unexpectedly, and it can affect significantly. Impact could be additional costs for your brokerage fees, inspection charges, excuse me, and potential shipment delays for your goods. Geographic and logistical challenges. This is the second biggest country in the world by territory. Managing supply chains across Canada's vast territory with diverse climate conditions can be a challenge, and different infrastructure is present there. So higher transportation costs could be the problem to be resolved, and longer delivery times than anticipated. Finally, it's good and bad at the same time. One is Canada is the only G7 country that has trade agreements with all other G7 countries. And in total, we have agreements with 51 countries across the world. Number one country with so many trade agreements. It's good, but that creates different regimes for each trade agreement. Understanding and leveraging Canada's numerous trade agreements while navigating non-tariff barriers could be a challenge. So the United States, Mexico, and Canada agreement, then we have an agreement with the European Union, we have an agreement with Asia-Pacific countries. All these, they create a lot of complexities, legal regimes that you need to understand a little bit, but you rely on the experts on that. That could mean that missed opportunities for tariff advantages and unexpected regulatory hurdles. Again, US, Mexico, and Canada agreement, one of the most significant agreements that Canada has, is being revisited again by the Trump administration. Let's see what happens, but we have many other agreements, as I said, with 51 countries covering 15 different agreements, and new agreements are coming with Ecuador, I guess, and Indonesia. Lots of advantages to take care of, but you need to work with specialists on that. Strategic. Now let's take a quick break because I've been talking for too long. Let's take a quick break and come back on what to do to succeed in light of all these hurdles and problems that you may face in Canada. Let's take a quick break now.
To stay updated on all things related to Canadian business immigration, check us out on social media. Follow us on Instagram, TikTok, LinkedIn, Facebook, and Twitter for the latest news and updates. Subscribe to our YouTube channel and click the notification bell to stay informed about the most recent immigration news, interviews with top immigration specialists, and our weekly live shows. Visit our website at www.sobirovs.com for more information or to book a consultation with our team of experts.
We've discussed the hurdles and problems. Now let's discuss strategies for success. What you should be doing to succeed or increase your chances of success in Canada. One, thorough research and planning. Don't hurry, plan accordingly. Do as much research as possible, as many visits to Canada as possible. So develop a Canada-specific business plan that accounts for provincial differences, market nuances, and regulatory requirements. Conduct comprehensive market research to validate your business model in the Canadian context. That's why certain PNP programs, they require you to come to Canada for an exploratory visit, to see the provinces one by one, and then decide where exactly your business will be located. Local expertise and partnerships. Engage with Canadian professionals, including legal counsels, accountants, and business consultants familiar with your industry. Not everybody knows everything in Canada. There are niche areas that people specialize in. Consider strategic partnership with established Canadian businesses to accelerate market entry and credibility. As I've been telling in many other videos before, there are businesses that are operating right now in Canada that could be for sale or they are looking for partners. Canadian businesses are looking for new markets across the globe in order to diversify their export potential and be less reliant on the U.S. economy or U.S. market. That's why it's very interesting time to establish partnerships with Canadian businesses. Financial prudence. Secure adequate capital reserves. At least 25% extra money should be allocated for your business expansion or business establishment. You have identified certain costs associated with doing business in Canada. Add 25% on top of it just to handle unexpected costs or delays while you are doing business in Canada. Explore government grants if you are eligible for them or not. Immigrant entrepreneur programs and alternative financing options specifically designed for newcomers. So once you are in Canada, don't forget that there are many other alternatives to financing other than commercial banks. Adaptability and cultural integration. As you spend more time in Canada, you will embrace Canadian business culture by adapting the management styles, marketing approaches, and customer service practices. Invest in language training. If you want to operate in Quebec, you need to have French capabilities, French skills to do business there, or preferably be a bilingual, English and French. So strategies, if you do two things, let's say with local expertise and partnerships and do your own research, you're already covering 50% of your preparation. So it's very important. Regulatory compliance, you can rely on business consultants or lawyers or corporate lawyers. Adaptability is on you because nobody can help you to adapt. You will adapt on your own. Financial prudence, again, you can do it with thorough research. As you can see, the majority of your preparation can be done with prudent approach to your business operations in Canada. All right, success awaits the prepared. If you're prepared, you will be successful in Canada. If you're not prepared, you could fail. Thorough research and planning, local expertise, networking and mentorship. We can help you with networking, by the way. When you come to Canada, we help our clients to network with the right people in Canada. And financial prudence, as I mentioned earlier. Canada still offers immense opportunities for foreign business owners who approach the market with proper preparation, cultural sensitivity, and strategic planning. So use all your resources, whether it's remote or by coming to Canada for a visit. Make yourself prepared. if you decide to do business in Canada. If you want to dive deeper on this subject or any other subject related to business immigration, here are our contacts. Connect with us, talk to us, and get your analysis with us. We will help you to navigate complex realities in Canadian market. So if you have any questions now, I'm ready for your questions. Usually it takes 20 minutes for me to present, and then another 10-15 minutes for us to respond to your questions. If we don't have questions, that's okay during live session like this. Please leave your questions under this video as a comment or a feedback. We will get to those feedbacks and comments as soon as possible. So I will wait for questions. So now question number one from we received from our website. Can your home country's financials help you get a Canadian business loan? It could, but again, which jurisdiction? Maybe Canadian, the lenders may be interested in getting a collateral in a foreign country. It depends on the jurisdiction. If you are from the US, it's much easier, or from Europe. But again, depends on the lender that you are dealing with. Usually it shows the potential, but again, having some history in Canada before applying for a business loan is a sober approach, because Canadian creditors, Canadian financial institutions, they want to know your Canadian history. Your previous history is good, it gives good background, but what have you done in Canada is more important. Again, some people I've seen, they use their foreign property, foreign operations as a guarantor or as a collateral for a loan. It could be done. Again, depends on how much down payment you are putting yourself. For example, I've seen down payments of 50% for a certain project, and then the remaining 50% is less risky for Canadian financial institution to put down and help you out with that financing. I think we only have one question from the website. If we have any questions from the audience currently attending, let's see, another question from the website. What happens to your Canadian business if your visa gets delayed or refused? That's a great question. One thing is you can hire someone to continue operating your Canadian business if it's profitable, if it makes sense to you, or you may try to sell your business if you decided not to come to Canada. We've seen cases where people bought the business but couldn't obtain visas for certain reasons. Now they are in the process of selling that business that they obtained at a discounted rate sometimes, because they don't want to come to Canada. They decided to go to another country. Another question from LinkedIn. Thinking of hiring family members in your business, good idea or legal risk? Well, depends on the business immigration program that you apply. If you applied for, let's say, significant benefit work permit, and you promise to create 2 new jobs because of your business, then creating jobs for your own family members doesn't really appeal to the Canadian immigration authorities. When it comes to renewing your C11 work permit, that could be a legal risk. But if you applied for PNP, for the Provincial Nominee Program Entrepreneur Stream, then you, under business performance agreement, you have to create jobs for Canadians other than your family members. So it's a good idea. It could work. It could work in combination. You hire your family member plus you hire another Canadian outside of your family. That could be combined. It could be a hybrid scenario, but it's not a great idea, to be honest. First, comply with what you promised to the Canadian authorities. Then when you obtain your, let's say, permanent resident status, then you can do whatever you want. You can hire only your family members. It doesn't affect you. But again, from personal experience, allowing your family member to be your employee, there's an employer-employee relationship and there's a family relationship. I think if I were, let's say, a restaurant owner, I would not hire my family member, because there are different dynamics when you are an employer and employee, or a brother and sister, or husband and wife, and so on. I don't want my business to affect members of my family and our relationship with that person. Okay, I think we got 3 questions from different sources. Thank you very much for your participation and sending us your questions. Next time we will get back to you with a new topic, but don't forget to like and subscribe if you found this video useful, or any other videos that you may check on our YouTube channel. Thank you very much. Have a great rest of the day. See you next time. Bye-bye.
Are you constantly on the move, managing your business, and looking for a convenient way to stay informed about expanding your business to Canada? Look no further. Introducing Speaking of Canada, the podcast that keeps you in the loop on all things related to Canadian business immigration, delivering the latest news and valuable tips and captivating interviews, no matter how busy your schedule gets. Speaking of Canada has got you covered.